Welcome back to me flipping another piece of furniture. I found this one for $49 at Goodwill. I was pretty excited, you can tell. So I started scraping instead of sanding. There's so many layers of paint, I thought this would be the easiest. My buddy Chris suggested I leave some of the working background noises. What do you guys think? On this dresser, I'm going to try a new technique that I found a tutorial for by someone called Black Sheep House. She does this faux wood pottery barn type finish. And I don't know if you've ever walked into a pottery barn or purchased anything from a pottery barn. It is insanely expensive and it is incredibly cheap. So I thought on a more quality dresser, this would actually be an awesome thing to do. So I'm just priming it. I didn't need to get all the paint off. If it wasn't going to come off with scraping and with sanding, then it wasn't going to come off, especially after I primed and top coated it. So that's all I did here was take everything down until it didn't come up easily or even aggressively with a sander, and then I decided to prime. I'm not going to lie that one of the only things I can focus on while I watch this is me chewing gum at hyperspeed. I'm painting this tan color on as the base coat. It seems a little wrong initially for what the color would look like at the end, but I followed the Black Sheep House tutorial to the T because I loved her finish and her results. The next step is adding the glaze. This is where you get the texture and the look of the Pottery Barn finish. I'm just using a cheap little broom head that I found at Home Depot. This is also recommended on tutorials that I watched, and pulling it across the glaze. It starts to give it that wood look and texture, actually. Then I go down to a hand broom, and then I go to a paintbrush, and then I do these little taps with the brush to make it look a little more wood-like. Wood has pores in it, so that's what I'm adding by tapping the brush. And then I just keep going on all the sides and all the fronts. I'll do a close-up in just a minute so you can see it on a drawer. Here's the glaze by Rust-Oleum in the color Java Brown. I follow the tutorial to a T, and this is exactly what she does. So you get it on with a cheap little brush. The reason I'm not doing long, even strokes is because this glaze takes days to actually dry, especially when it was so humid outside. So you have a very long working time. And then once you get it all on, you kind of pull it in the direction you want. Here's that little brush, and then you just start pulling. I think I was prone to overdo this, and I should have moved on to the next step sooner. And here's that little hand brush. I learned that skipping the use of the straw broom and going straight to this little handheld broom achieves the exact same result. So here I'm pulling it out with the brush, and this next part where you see me just lightly tapping, that's what gives it the wood look to me. I don't know if you can tell a difference, but I feel like I can tell a big difference. It was important that I not do all these separately so that I can make sure that they were all even in color and texture. Now I'm putting on a top coat. This was actually my biggest problem on this project. I waited over 24 hours and left this in the sun to cure, but still it wasn't quite dry enough. So when I would put the top coat on, which can get a little bit sticky, it actually started pulling the glaze right off, which was a real big bummer, and so it looks a little patchy. This was very much a learning experience for me. The screws for the new hardware weren't long enough to reach all the way through, so I had to take a bigger drill bit and drill a little hole in the back to put the head of the screw in so it would be long enough. Just a little reminder of the before, and now the after. The top is definitely my favorite part. The pictures and videos really don't do it justice. When I do this in the future, I'm going to stop brushing out the glaze as much, let it rest a little more, and then spray on the top coat instead of paint it on to avoid the splotchiness.